Well, hello, this is the huggable, the lovable, Big Bear StarCraft 2, and I am wishing you guys the best of nights. I actually just came back from a banquet, and it was relatively delicious, and I decided, you know what, I am in the mood to cast a game, and I actually picked a ZVP where we have the Grubby spawning as the green Protoss in the bottom left. Now, Grubby's kind of weird. I don't know if this guy is playing Protoss or Terran. I've seen him playing a lot of Terran recently in a lot of recent games and a lot of Protoss, so it's kind of hard, kind of tell what he is playing. But for the most part, I think he just kind of switches off depending on the races. I think if he is playing another Protoss, he plays Terran in tournament plays, and if he is playing against a Zerg or a Terran, he plays Protoss. So I'm not exactly sure. I think that's kind of a cool thing to do, like, just kind of mix up your matchups so your opponent doesn't really know what to expect. They can't watch your Protoss without actually also watching your Terran and, not knowing for sure if you're going to, in fact, play a Terran against them. So I think it's really cool to maybe know one or two races, because then your opponent really can't scout you and can't really read you and say, and like they won't know what you're doing. And so I think it's really cool to know maybe one or two races, so you can maybe just switch it up on a opponent and really kind of like throw them off guard, because obviously, people know Idra's playing style. People like at the professional level will watch maybe 15 games of Idra and they will see that. And another little trick that he just did here is he put the, oh no, he actually is going pool first, so never mind. I was going to say he actually did put this here down to fake him out and then go for the early expansion here, but he actually did instead opt for the very, very early spawning pool. And I think that Grubby is actually going for a 15 Nexus, which is a pretty risky build, especially against a pool first kind of opening, because after this Nexus here at 15, he is going to have to go for some sort of Forge. But if he goes for a Forge, I think that the Zerglings will actually be out before the cannon gets up, and so this may actually prove kind of problematic for Grubby. I think he really wanted to see Darkforce go for some sort of expansion first, and you can even see that Darkforce here is going to be trying to block off this probe from, in fact, actually putting down the Forge, and that is just payback for all of those annoying Protoss players who already, kind of tried to mess with our early expansions as the Zerg player. And, I mean, like, that's just kind of payback and just saying, you know what, you block my early expansion, I will just simply block you from throwing down your Cybernetics core, or in this case, your Forge. And now Grubby really wants to see, alright, when is he going to be throwing down that expansion? And he can see that he's actually not going to be throwing it down really at all. He's going to be instead waiting for that kind of optimal 21, which is when most Zerg players do throw it down now, because of that early pylon block off that a lot of Protoss' favor. But I think that these three Zerglings here are going to prove kind of problematic, because if they do hustle their little bunny hopping legs off, they will actually get there before the cannon. And these are obviously not the Usain Bolt Zerglings that the Zerg player was hoping for, because they will actually get deterred by this cannon, because this cannon will get up just in time. And look at how beautiful that timing is. And now they're going to push it back. I think that this actually was part of Grubby's build. So now Grubby's going to have an expansion. And look at this. His expansion is up, and the Zerg players is just starting. As a Zerg player, this is not where you want to be. You want to be an expansion ahead. And he actually is going to be grabbing an extremely, extremely fast third. And I like this play, because it doesn't take very long for that third to actually start kicking in and for you to start paying off. So for going for that, you know that your Protoss player is going to just be going for a content macro heavy style of play. He's not going to be going for anything for maybe a couple of minutes, and so throwing down this third hatch can actually really pay off. And now he's just going to straight drone up. I don't really see him making any Zerglings at all, and now he can just really focus on just droning like crazy. And you can see actually just getting a lot of drones. He needs to stay on top of his macro, just get a ridiculous number of drones, and really just kind of out worker count his Protoss counterpart here. And you can see that this Overlord here is just going to be safely just raining in, and he's just going to be seeing everything that is actually going on, because there's really no kind of pressure that the Protoss player can really put on him, because he did opt for this early expansion. So Grubby was just kind of saying, you know what, I will out macro you, and I'm just going to beat you in a straight up one-on-one macro style game. Darkforce is saying, you know what, I will have none of that, and I'm going to throw up the extremely early third base. Now, as a Zerg player, I actually do this myself, but admittedly it is a little bit risky, because if it does not pay off for you, you can be pretty significantly far behind because you will just lose. Like, for example, if he just went for some sort of MC style expansion, but you can see that this Overlord here is just going to keep scouting. I mean, Darkforce is doing an amazing job. I've actually really never seen too many of Darkforce's games, only maybe one or two, and they didn't really impress me, but right now Darkforce's play is really impressing me. He's making really good decision making. Maybe he just really likes to play the macro game and he hasn't really seen it. He even has a Zergling sitting at the front of the base here, so he knows when any sort of push out is coming, but you can see that actually the Protoss player opted to fully wall off here, so Grubby was really afraid of some sort of all-in, and now he actually did lose an Overlord, so he's going to have to build 2 more, and he's getting a pretty fast layer tech, but you can see, if you go to the unit counting station, he literally has 5 Zerglings and 39 drones, so he's going to be quickly catching back up in the drone count, especially if he's going to be mass-producing drones off of 3 bases, but he needs to be a little bit careful because around this time, if the Protoss player does in fact opt for some sort of 4-gate play, or I mean some sort of 6-gate delayed push, he will be pushing around here. He'll be pushing out here at about 9 minutes with 6 gateways worth of units, and you can see that there's the 5 gateways plus the 6th one up here, and that's going to time pretty well with this warp gate finishing. So the Zerg player really needs to start building units pretty darn fast, and he needs to probably just start building spine crawlers here and here. But the only disadvantage of Shakira's plateau is that you really cannot build the spine crawlers and use them to hold off any sort of 6-gate push. You really do need to build like roaches or attacking units because they need to be able to go from this base to this base because there is a giant gap here, and you can't just really build spine crawlers here and expect to defend both bases. It is too hard, and he actually is going to be destroying the forge after the upgrade does in fact come out. So I really like this playstyle. I'm throwing down a 2nd cybernetics core, so he is instead opting to destroy the cybernetics core, and I think he's going to push out here with a massive sentry, and it looks like this is going to be an all-in from a 2-base sort of style of play, but he is going to have a pretty good pretty good probe count, but you can see he's been cutting probes for a while with almost 1,000 minerals in the bank, whereas the Zerg has almost 1,000 as well. He really should be expecting this push, and just like I said, at the 9-minute and 30-second is when you really should be expecting a 6-gate all-in style push, and now the Zerg player should be pooping in his pants just a little bit of creep. You know, just like these Overlords here. Oh, they're actually not pooping at all. Just kidding. So he's going to be starting to build a lot of units, and this is kind of going to be the scary moment for the Zerg player because this is when, you know, you're just a little bit fearful. Grubby even got the observer here, so I really actually like this build. If I was a Protoss player, I would find this replay. It is on sc2rep.com, and I would steal it. If you are a lower level player, this will win every single game. Just copy Grubby's build exactly, and you will probably win most of your games. This is actually a really, really smart build, and you can see that the Zerg player is about to have an extremely high amount of trouble actually to hold this off. Sorry about that, I was trying to itch my face, and he's going to be picking up the pylon. So Zerg is playing this really smart, but it's really ridiculously hard to in fact hold this off. You can see that these force fields are just going to destroy any sort of Zergling pressure, and actually the Zerglings are going to be running in, but the force fields are in fact going to cut off all of these Zerglings. The roaches are going to be trying to push in, but they're going to kill maybe 1 stalker at the cost of 1,000,000 of their Zergling bunny lives, and Zerglings do look like bunnies, just as they know. Now they're going to be pushing up the ramp, and actually this probe here is going to be a little bit sacrificial. He's going to say, don't worry guys, I got this, but these sentries are actually going to say, don't worry, I will also kill these roaches here. There's going to be a lot of force fields actually cutting off a lot of the units. This Queen will die a brutal death, but the death of a hero nonetheless. They're going to be trying to push up the ramp. The ramp here is going to be blocked by these 3 hero roaches who are going to try to hold back the onslaught of Protoss players. Protoss' army that is in fact coming. You can see 15, 16 roaches are on the way, so we may actually be able to hold this off, but he's pulling a lot of drones off of the line, and I do not think that this will be enough. The 6-gate all-in style play from Grubby is going to immensely pay off, even if he does not actually do any more damage other than the amount of damage he just did, because he did force the Zerg player to actually pull off a lot of roaches. Now, if this was a ladder game, he probably would have quit by now, because this is probably going to be a GG, and there is the GG now, because, you know, there's really nothing he can do. I mean, Grubby's expanding behind this. If you go to the unit counting station, you can see he has a 40 drone to 49 probe count, and there's a lot of attacking units on the field here. And really, what does the Zerg player have except for a small handful of roaches? And I highly doubt that these roaches were going to take on the Protoss' Gateway Death Ball. Now, like I said before, if I was actually, I'm going to go back on this replay and steal this build. This is actually a very, very strong build. I mean, it's an all-in, but you know what? Basically, what Protoss is saying, they're saying, you know what? I can't all-in any longer with a 4-gate, so I'll just early expand and all in with a 7-gate. What's the difference, really, anyways? I'm just going to all-in no matter what. I mean, it wasn't even that much of an all-in. If you look at the unit counting station, he still has 50 probes. So, I mean, it's not even that much of an all-in. This is a really strong build. If you are a Zerg player, you should definitely scout a little bit more and really try to find a high number of gateways, because if you do see a high number of gateways, you should be a little bit worried. And actually, Grubby did opt for weapons or ground level weapons. Really, as a Protoss player, go for armor level 1 first. It does pay off a little bit more, especially in a all-in scenario, because you want your units to have more armor than attack. This is Big Bear StarCraft 2, hoping you guys have a pleasant today and an even better tomorrow, and I am signing out.